Yes. Well, okay, fine. We'll start off with your story, and of course, we'll be talking about Michael Jackson and the recent documentary series that has come out alleging some alleging wrongdoing on behalf of the departed pop star.
All right, so
So why don't you
I
yeah
will
so why
admit
don't you
I have
start
not.
us off, because I know you're ready to rip my head off for some of the things that I said in the backstage. So
All right, so admittedly, I have not seen the documentary, so I don't. But I will be watching that at some point within the next couple weeks. So we'll probably revisit this topic. But here's the thing with I heard a question or kind of like a point or a few points brought up this week. One being it's like because there was a number of weeks ago where we're digging up the corpse of John Wayne and saying like, oh, how terrible it was that he had some not even really that bad of thoughts from like a Playboy interview that he had.
hmm
Um, and it's like you could potentially say the same thing about Michael Jackson. Why the hell is this being dug up? He's already dead. And well, the problem is he with in the case of Michael Jackson, who is a pedophile, is the people that he has attacked or molested, sexually abused, raped, what name you, um, are still affected by what happened. So I think this is and uh, it was also kind of this open joke in Hollywood that Michael Jackson fucks kids, and as we've talked about on many times in this program about kind of the normals, there is kind of a push to normalize pedophilia, and I think this is a good thing to shed light, continue to shed light on on an evil that needs to be um, brought out into the open and ridiculed. And so I think I'm and when it comes to Michael Jackson, you know let's take his, because there's a lot of people that are coming out and defending Michael Jackson, and I am not one of those people. I think when you start doing this kind of stuff to kids, I have honestly I think they should all be castrated and killed. And thankfully Michael Jackson's dead, so he can't hurt anybody anymore. Now this is not to take away, like I'm a fan of his music. I think he is, yes, he's a very talented dancer, singer, artist, all those things, no doubt about it. Um, but let's take his celebrity status out of the whole situation. Let's say he's Joe Johnson down the street, and he's some in his 30s, 40s, 50s, or up to the point that Michael, the age that Michael Jackson died at. And
in
let's
his
take a look at the
fifties.
stuff that, yeah. So let's take a look at some stuff that that Jackson has admitted to, and not only didn't like it wasn't a like, oh well, I guess it wasn't like, oh well, I guess I have to admit to it. No, he was actually proud of. He thought everything he was doing was just fine, or the stuff that's found in his estate after he died. So for one, a man in his 30s, 40s, 50s is having little boys sleep in his bed that aren't his kids. Let's mind you. So let's say Joe Johnson down the street is wanting to have your kids over for your 5, 6, 7 year old kid and come for a sleepover in his bed. I think that's a little odd. And it wasn't just like one; it was many. Then you have like the all the weird bondage porn that he had with kids' heads superimposed on the images. There was child pornography. There was these kind of these secret sex dungeon rooms where like they had special locks and alarms to notify when people were coming close by, and this is even without listening to the what the victims or alleged victims were talking about. Because you could say oh well, they didn't accuse him of it beforehand, so but now they're changing the story, and it seems a little suspicious to me. um, and I say okay, let's take all that out. I think having all the stuff that we do know about Michael is pretty damning enough. Because if this, like I said, take out his celebrity status, take out his talent and his money, and this is just somebody that you knew down the street and you knew about this stuff, we'd be calling for his head out on a pike. We'd want him dead.
Yeah, I don't disagree that yes, pedophiles, should be, castrated or killed. Those, if you're found out to be a pedophile, those are the options that you should be presented: castrated or killed. That being said, I can't, like you, I'm a fan of Michael Jackson. It's part of my childhood, listening to his music. Trying to do the, trying to teach myself how to do the moonwalk and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of hard, and I know, because I've heard the same things you have, and and it's one of those weird things where you kind of want to almost not believe like the heinous nature of what has been reported or what has been found or admitted to. Especially, you kind of tend to extend a little bit more grace, especially after they died. But yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying,
But
So
that's
again,
the
like,
thing though. Okay, he's dead, but this is stuff that we people were defending him about this stuff, and like I said, he has the right to defend himself against these allegations. But to be honest, I think they did a fairly lousy job, just because Michael Jackson opened his mouth and was talking about this stuff, and everyone. And the thing is, the people that kind of were around him and knew him in public, you always saw him with this group of lost boys that he would cling to himself. And the fact that it was everyone that knew him, it was like, oh, Michael Jackson, he diddles kids. Hey, it's an open joke. It was an open joke for decades. Just with the whole, we make fun of the whole, because the Me Too stuff got out of hand, but the whole casting couch thing, that was that's been an open joke in Hollywood too. We laugh at the crocodile tears of Meryl Streep and all these people with Harvey Weinstein, but they knew they were bringing people to this monster that was that was abusing credibly abusing these women.
Yeah. You're right. It's totally right. And during our backstage, I took a contrary position. Uh, just because I knew you'll get Robert riled up. Of course, I was, I didn't think that he was gonna go double barrels on me, right away. And so I think I should have saved it for the stream, because I did want him to go, because again, if you're proven to be a pedophile, then yes, the two options that you should be presented is castration or death. And so, but because listening to two guys agree with each other, would be kind of boring. So I did want to take that contrary position, but again, but I'm not lying when I say that it's still really hard for me, because again, I grew up with Michael Jackson. It's really hard, and even though I know like of the monstrous things that he's done, and and just like the kind of like open secret, that is been around in Hollywood and the entertainment industry in general for decades. And again, similarly to the Harvey Weinstein, the Me Too thing. Uh, so
and here's the thing, and before here's one thing I'll say. I do believe that everyone, because these aren't allegations that you just throw around willy nilly, because it's very dangerous to do that.
right,
we've seen how
just like the Weinstein stuff, like this stuff against Michael Jackson has been persistent throughout the years, and I mean, and some some people and some of the accusations come from kind of like shitty people, and but that and it kind of sucks because then it kind of casts a cloud of doubt over people who might actually be genuine in their accusations. And so again, it's like that so the waters are muddied like crazy. So, but again, like Robert has stated in his initial argument about the things that they found on Neverland, and things that he's just freely admitted. It's all pretty damning.
Yeah, well, and yeah, it's funny. You did kind of you came at me with all the shit I've been hearing this week from Michael Jackson defenders, which kind of pissed me off. It was like, so and so, like there was, how was he was found not guilty in court and all this stuff. So that means he was innocent of all this stuff. Or what about Corey Feldman and Macaulay Culkin? It's like, okay, you're right. There's a few he was found not guilty in court, but
just to defend myself real fast. I never said that he was innocent.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But, just because you're found not guilty in court doesn't mean you didn't do it.
Right. Let's look at. I never asserted that he was innocent, but continue.
And but this is what I've been hearing all week. It's like, oh well, he's found not guilty. That means he's innocent. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like, even admittedly, the jury in those court cases says like, yeah, the thing is, we believe that this happened, but the prosecution did not give us enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's what they're. And you take away and was it I got a couple of hate tweets on this earlier in the week, and it's like it kind of like throwing the arguments that you were throwing at me, and it's just like, okay, well, let's you people bitch about how like, oh, these people with money and blah blah blah, they're evil and all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, you throw someone like that, he has all this fame and money and a high price legal team to bail him out of this shit, and they did. That's exactly. I mean, they did their horrible job, but I mean, like the work of Satan. But yeah, they did it. But if this was someone that didn't have the celebrity that everyone loves his music, I was like, oh, he's so childlike. And if this was any normal person that acted in the same way, who didn't have the money and the fame, we'd be calling for him to be burned at the stake. And rightfully so.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, again, during our backstage, I was just testing. I tested the links of.
Pissed me off.
I in my attempts to just kind of get his dander up a little. I got him to go full bore double barrels at me. I was like, oh crap. And because I'm no punk bitch, I couldn't back up, so I went back at him with double barrels. But yes, it's. Again, this is hard for me because I am a Michael Jackson fan, and yes, it's more than apparent that he was a sexual deviant and a predator, And yeah, and that's it just it's just all these like it's all these different feelings, especially recent since it's come out that radio stations are now like banning are no longer playing his music, and even this even the Simpsons are having the episode where his voice is where he did like
Star Framing Dad.
yeah, a guest starring role. They're not no longer going to be playing that anymore. So
that's the that's, I mean, like I said, it's kind of like I'm a little torn with that too, just because it's okay. Like in most cases, I can separate out the body of work as opposed to like their personal life, because it's one thing like
separating their art from the artist.
Right, because I think Kevin Spacey is a garbage human being, but I like his acting. I think he's a good actor. I mean, hell, his show on Netflix, House of Cards, fell apart when he was thrown off the show. And I like his movies, but that doesn't mean that I think he's a good person. Same thing with Michael Jackson. I like his music. I think he was very talented, but garbage human being. Like it's kind of, and I'm one of those people who's like, well, let's not throw away what is what's good, but like what. Yeah, you could argue that like it's a contribution to society. I mean,
with the arts.
Music. I mean, right? I mean, you could.
Right, because like his music videos, they're back in the day, his music videos, they're basically short. They're basically shorts. They're basically short movies. And it was the first time that and it was he was like one of the pioneers of doing like that kind of long, like that movie style of music video, and so it's kind of like, let's not throw out the bathwater with the baby.
I mean, it's kind of, you look at the let's say we found out that Gutenberg was diddling kids or was a huge rapist. That doesn't take away his achievement of the press,
right?
which changed history to a huge degree.
Yeah, it was like he was like the first web hoster,
right?
Because once the printing press happened, more information was able to be spread and disseminated amongst the masses. Literacy like went up because of the press, and so
right. So like that would be one thing. It's like, oh well, it finds out that hypothetically that he's a terrible person, but the contributions are still like really are significant, and they shouldn't just be thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be burning books just because Gutenberg was a a serial rapist or pedophile.
Excellent point.
So I mean, in that case, like I maybe people see this as a as a cop out, or I'm a hypocrite. It's like I mean, I might not listen to his stuff as much, but I'm not going to just not listen to his music every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. It's like maybe I won't be listening to my Michael Jackson playlist, as much as I used to. Like maybe like once every like 5 years, I'll just listen to it, for nostalgia purposes.
Right.
But it just won't. Yeah, there just won't be any like Michael music in my usual rotation.
Right. But it's just it's just, we get just kind of like it just pissed me off with all the it's like, I'm a Michael Jackson fan too, but I also see like that we shouldn't be people are conflating like his musical concontributions to like that may just because he's done that makes him a good person.
That's tacking it onto like his depth of character.
Right. And this is the same thing that the left and all these crazy people do. It's like, oh well, it's black and white, there's no gray area. It's like, well, life is messy. Like, people aren't just one thing. Like, yeah, his musical contributions have transcended him. Like, they're not. It's not just Michael Jackson. And the same thing, like but his personal life is horrific. He's an evil person that destroyed these kids' lives.
Yeah, just to highlight the absolutist nature of people on the left, really quickly. Chris Evans, who famously said, like, if he had the Infinity Gauntlet, he'd snap and get rid of he'd get rid of everyone on the right. That Chris Evans.
Yeah.
He recently, again, and that part of me, like, makes me really sad because I love him as Captain America. And,
yeah.
But he says like this batshit crazy thing. Like, he basically wants to get rid of half of his like fan base. But more recently, he met with Dan Crenshaw, the congressman from Texas who was a Navy SEAL, and he lost part of his eye, and he went to go meet with him, kind of cryptically on Twitter, saying, oh, I'm working on something here. And then, Dan Crenshaw showed him, like, what was underneath the patch, and it was a glass eye, but instead of, like, the usual kind of pupil iris glass eye, he had Captain America's shield.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris Evans, just put out innocuously, oh, that's a really great use for vibranium.
Right. That's funny.
Right. It's a nice, lighthearted, friendly little thing to say, especially for someone who he wanted to snap out of existence. But that's neither here nor there. But of course, the left goes off, on Chris Evans, saying, like, one Twitter user said, like, that guy's literally Hydra. Talking about Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw is I mean, I don't know him personally, but he seems like he's one of the nicest guys. Like, he's taken a lot of, like, bullshit from the left, but, like, he didn't, like, come out and, guns blazing. He decided to, like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna, forgive these guys, and, like, he had that whole really nice segment he came on SNL and, like, kind of joked around with these guys.
Exactly.
And he's taken everything in. He's
taken everything in stride.
Like,
he's taken everything in stride.
He's a unifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's shown great magnanimity and ability to laugh at himself. But these crazy leftists. They, like, you can't talk to anybody. Which I think is exemplified because they'll never openly debate anybody. And I'm not just talking about, on the right. Like, anyone who kind of, like, mildly questions them, they won't debate them at all. It's a quick, shut down, no questions here, move along kind of situation.
You asked me a question, that's racist. It's like, well, no, it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to understand, like, right. So that we can, come to, like, some sort of, like, I might not agree, but, like, at least, understand what the hell you're, talking about.
Yeah. It's
nope,
like,
can't do that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know you. I'm not a mind reader, so asking questions is the way I find out about you and, what you believe. And, I just might have a differing viewpoint. But that doesn't mean that I hate you or I want you dead or any of the things that you are accusing me of doing or wanting.
Yeah, there was a comedian that I like who's definitely not on. He's definitely not a right wing at all. A guy by the name of Mark Normand, and he had this bit where he was kind of because he was talking about kind of the whole PC culture. And he was talking about, like, he was at a party and there was someone that he knew who was black, and he's like, hey, what's the whole deal with like the black people can't swim stereotype? And the black guy is like, oh well, a lot of us grow up in the inner city, and there's not really any water, there's not a lot of water around, so we don't really learn to swim. It's like, oh, okay, well, now I know. And it's like you have like some probably some like white leftist who is it's like,
let's just call them busybodies because they get up all in your business.
Hey, that's ignorant. It's like, yeah, it's like, well, no, it's like, that's why I asked the question, so I'm not, so that I learn something, it's like,
right,
say ignorant, you idiot. And it's like, well, that's kind of it's like,
yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I was ignorant. I asked a question, I got an answer. Now I'm not ignorant.
But you can't do that anymore. Or
no,
according to left, at least.
Simply asking a question is not allowed anymore. I mean, I don't know. Like, did they expect us to be, mind readers or something?
Well, that's the tactic of the left, the socialist, communist, left, that they want to control and censor everything, and they want to dominate everything, and that asking questions is a dangerous thing because that means that, like, oh, you're going against our power and authority. That's what they want to do.
I mean, that's usually what I yell at people, when I'm driving, when they do, like, and they don't, like, signal, or, they're just, they cut in front of me without warning, and I just, like, scream at them. Must be nice, coming from a place where everyone can read each other's minds.
Yeah, it's like, did you mind meld with everyone on the road?
Yeah, it's just like, But anyways, to bring it all back, yes, Michael Jackson is a pedophile. He is a monster.
But yeah, I maybe I don't know if you were still recording like from the backstage, but maybe we can put that up because when you like started coming at me from that position, it's like, are you fucking kidding me, Andy?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
I know. I should have. I don't know why I don't. I'm such a bonehead.
I was gonna say, it's like, wow, Michael Jackson got to you. You're one of the fucking Michael Jackson apologists that have been pissing me off all week. It's like, I mean, that's worse than the beans and chili.
How little you know me, Robert. How little you know me.
I was gonna say, this is worse than the beans and the chili and In-N-Out fries. So you fucking jackass.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Robert has a hatred of beans and chili and of In-N-Out fries.
It's not chili at that point when you throw beans in there. Come at me. I don't care. I will argue against you all day long.
Yes, I know. I totally triggered Robert. I really did. It was funny because I didn't think he was gonna get that worked up. That's the funny thing. I was just taking the contrary position, just to be kind of, because that's who, because those of you who know me, I'm an asshole, so I'll take the contrary position. And I didn't think he was gonna come at me that hard, but he ended up coming at me really hard.
No,
I mean, of course, I didn't know about the whole, like, being under attack on Twitter or whatever. So.
Yeah, I got some hate on Twitter this week from that, which is fine. Like, hey, if people want to come at me, that's fine. I don't care. I'm
it's funny because I was actually gonna weigh into some shit on Instagram, but I don't know why, but I chickened out because I really didn't want to deal with all the bullshit.
I decided to dive into that pool, Andy, and let me tell you.
I know, because especially because it was on National Women's Day or International Women's Day.
Oh, you mean the celebration of socialism taking over?
Yeah, pretty much. But because I was gonna put up a picture, like a picture of, like, some female soldiers, and then the message was gonna read like, oh, happy, International Women's Day, the Supreme Court has just ruled that it is unconstitutional for men alone to have to sign up for the draft. So they're probably going to take it to the to Congress to pass a bill requiring women to register for the draft. So like congratulations. I was gonna do like a story, and then on the next picture it would be a quote from uh, Arlie Emery from Full Metal Jacket. It's like congratulations. It's like there is no racial or sexist bigotry here. It's like here you are all worthless.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, I know I chickened out. I don't know why I did, because usually but I really didn't want to deal with this shit.
I'll be honest, I don't blame you. There's been a few times where it's like, I have a very very strong I should. There's been a few times where it's like I really should take the opposite end of this argument and defend this idea, but I was like, you know what? I'm too tired. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like it's also knowing when to keep your sword sheathed.
Right, that's the case. See, there's a lot of times where like, is this a topic that I'm gonna am I gonna die on this hill? And when it comes to things like pedophilia and going out against that, I will die on that hill every day if it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So.
I mean, and we've talked about that on on several times. Same thing with the whole abortion issue. I mean, yeah, I'm not going out and marching in the streets and stuff like that. Because personally, I don't think that does anything.
Mm-hmm.
But keeping the stories out in the open, talking about it, promoting movies like Gosnell, and exposing the hypocrisy and the stuff that's going on, and it's like that's stuff that we need to keep doing. And
right,
you know what, if I catch him hate for it, then fuck it, whatever.
Right. And I think I mean, as much as we'd like to be not influencers in like that kind of secular way, but we would like to be people of influence. And I think there's no greater position of influence than your immediate circles. And I think just being a speaker of truth is the best thing. I mean, yes, sometimes a show of solidarity, marching in the street is I can see the benefits of that. But what's more potent and more powerful is just your bonds between people and influencing them that way.
And I've always said, it's like, listen, if you want to hate on me, that's fine. But if I get you, even if you hate me, but I get you thinking differently and seeing a different angle on something, and maybe it eventually changes your mind, I feel like I've done my job.
Right. Yeah. I totally feel the same way.